Hey guys! Have you always wondered how to paint soft fur in watercolor without painting every single hair? In this video, I'll show you step by step how to paint white fur against a dark background that looks so soft you'll want to reach out and pet it. Because watercolor tends to form hard edges, it can be tricky achieving soft, fuzzy, blended edges. This is where the wet and wet technique comes in. For this Ragdoll Cat, I decided to use Arch's rough pressed watercolor paper. Rough pressed paper is great for the wet and wet technique because the extra tooth and texture holds water and stays damp a lot longer than, say, hot pressed paper, and you can really create beautiful diffused edges. I start by taking clean water on my 1/2-inch flat wash brush and painting with the water all over the background area. The important thing here is to let the water overlap into the cat's fur a little bit. Remember that where the water goes, paint will flow. Next, I grab my bright green color, this is Holbein Permanent Green No. 1, and dab it into the background, not quite up to my pencil edge. In order to encourage the paint to bleed and flow into my wet paper, I can tilt the board slightly. Already you can see the paint creeping into the wet white paper, and it looks like fur. You can use a different, smaller brush to pull the paint and adjust it where you need to. My darkest color in the painting is Daniel Smith Indigo. I grab juicy dark paint and dab it in all over the top of the painting. I'm painting almost up to my pencil lines, but not quite. The paint should naturally flow into the wet paper, again, effortlessly creating fur texture for us. If your paint starts to dry, just wet it again with clean water before continuing to add background colors. On the right side, I use the edge of my flat brush to paint more fur shapes. But again, because the paper is wet, they blend out nicely, creating the look of a blurry photograph. I continue down the side with my bright green color, and once it's all blocked in, I leave the edges alone. There we go! Soft, diffused edges that only took 5 minutes. No time-consuming scrubbing or teeny tiny brush work. Check out these other videos on how to paint fur in watercolor, and if you try this on your own paintings, tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see what you're creating.